Hello students, welcome again. Students, when we study 16th century literature, we come across the term Renaissance humanism in English literature. In today's lecture, we want to understand what this humanism is and how this humanism influenced English literature. In short, we will discuss the origin and definition of humanism. We will also discuss the features of humanism, and at the end I will show you some important examples of humanism in English literature. So, let's begin. See, humanism, which is also known as Renaissance humanism, is actually an intellectual movement which appeared in Italy. Okay, it is also known as a social, cultural, and artistic and philosophical movement that emerged, that originated in Italy during the 13th and 14th centuries. You remember the names Petrarch, when I discussed the sonnets in one of my previous lectures, you must have heard the name Petrarchan sonnet. So Petrarch was an Italian poet. In the same manner, Dante was an Italian poet. In the same manner, we have Boccaccio. So Boccaccio, Petrarch and Dante, these are considered as the founding pillars of humanism in Italian literature. Okay, this humanism was a movement where people started questioning the age-old Christian ethos. Okay, people started raising problems, raising their opposition against the age-old customs. Okay, orthodox religion which was taught to the people during the 12th, 13th and 14th centuries, they were now questioned by the new people during the 14th century in Italy, and then later on this movement spread across Europe. But when we study English literature, we find this humanism in English literature only during the 16th century. Okay, so whatever the Christian ethos or orthodox principles were taught to the people, they were questioned by the new people who were colored by this humanism. Right, so humanism became an important feature of Renaissance. What is Renaissance? Renaissance means rebirth or revival of learning. During the period of Renaissance, people started learning and reading the Greek and Roman books, okay, on philosophy, on science and religion. So they got their own new awareness, and with that knowledge, you find the revival of the spirit among the people. That is so humanism is also one part of Renaissance, you can say. And as I told you, Petrarch, Boccaccio and Dante, they are believed to be the founding members of humanism in Italian literature. In English literature also we have humanism, that I will tell you later in this video. Okay, how actually it began? Let me tell you about the origin and definition of humanism. See, the term humanism was not used as humanism, right? It was used as humanismus. Humanismus, this term was used by some 19th century German scholars, okay, and they used this term to describe the Renaissance emphasis on the classical studies in education, right? So the Renaissance people, means the 15th and 16th century people, they started getting themselves educated after learning the ancient Greek and Roman literature. So that was known as humanismus by German scholars. Okay, the humanist movement started with these Italian scholars, as I told you. Now what this humanism is? Humanism, these are some of the 7 features I have listed here before you. You can see on the screen. Number 1, putting human beings and other living beings at the center of our moral outlook. Okay, so now people started believing that I am at the center of this existence of the world. There is no God up above in the sky. I should not go up and start praying God to make my life happy. I am responsible for my own life. Number two, seeing the world as a natural place. This world is a natural place. We don't know who has created this world, okay, but it is natural. And using our reason, our intellect, our intelligence to make sense out of this world. This world is a natural world, and if I want to make this world happy, it is up to me. It is not up to anyone else. Okay, so kind of individualism entered here in humanism. Their methods were of reasoning were inductive. Inductive means they had their own intuition. They believed in their own thoughts. They were not inspired or influenced by the biblical Christian ethos, age old customs which were taught to them since ages. Okay, so they discarded, they rejected the age old mythical stories, biblical guidance, and all. They believed in inductive learning. They were more concerned with the revival of learning, of the classical learning of Greece and Rome. So, for knowledge, they went back to classical Greek literature, Greek philosophy, and Greek religion. Not only Greek, also Roman literature was the center of fascination for these 16th, 15th, and 16th century people. Now, here, man is at the center. No spiritual deity is responsible for your life. Okay, so you see, Renaissance people, 16th century people, they believed that I am responsible for my own tragedy in my life or comedy in my life. Who controls my life? Not God. I am responsible for that. Okay, so that kind of individual approach, attitude was found in humanism. Ability of human beings to determine for themselves truth and falsehood. What is truth and what is falsehood? Okay, that was unearthed by these people themselves. Okay, they did not believe in anyone. They themselves did research. They depend on their own intelligence, on their own reason, on their own logic, and then they believed that this is truth and this is falsehood. Okay, humanists, they were highly skeptic people. Skeptic people means they always raised doubts against age old stories. Okay, and here skepticism was not considered as a sin, it was considered as a virtue. When you raise questions, okay, you try to achieve truth. So this was the approach. Now, further to explain what this humanism is, I have taken this quotation from Kenneth Pfeffer. Kenneth Pfeffer is a thinker who has written the essay The Faith of a Humanist. If you read this essay, there we come across these lines as you can see on the screen. He said that humanism teaches us that it is immoral to wait for God to act for us. So there is no one up above in the sky, in the heaven, who can save your life. Okay, if you depend on God, it is an immoral act. We must act to stop the wars and the crimes and the brutality of this and future ages. If you want to build your own future, you are responsible. Start acting today. Okay, don't depend on the religion, don't depend on God. We have the powers of a remarkable kind. Every individual personality is himself or herself God. Okay, God has all powers. In the same manner, you are the creation of God, so you too have all powers to build your better future. We have a high degree of freedom in choosing what we will do and what we will not. Okay, humanism tells us that whatever our philosophy of the universe may be, okay, there are different philosophies to understand this universe, but ultimately the responsibility for the kind of the world in which we live rests with us. So we are responsible for the kind of the world that we are living in. So if you wish, you can make your life a heaven. If you wish, you can make your life a hell. It is all up to you. So individual was at the center in this movement called humanism, not depending on gods and deities and religion. Okay, so that is what humanism is. Now, how this attitude influenced English literature, let me tell you that the impact of this humanism on English literature was far reaching. If you examine the 15th century writers, 16th century, particularly Renaissance, Elizabethan writers of English literature, there you find humanism. Okay, we have some great authors like Thomas More, Sir Thomas Eliot, Roger Ascham, Philip Sidney, Marlowe, Shakespeare, Milton, everywhere you find this humanism, right? Even Machiavelli wrote The Prince. Okay, there you find Utopia, written by Thomas More, Dr. Faustus, Tamburlaine the Great, Hamlet, Macbeth, everywhere you find this touch of humanism. I have taken 5 examples here. Number 1, Thomas More has written Utopia, published in 1516. There you find that it is a satire on traditional institutions. So the questions are raised against the traditionalism or traditional institutions, and Utopia offers an imaginary alternative world which we can create on our own without depending on the traditional institutions. Okay, so he has presented a model society based on reason and also human nature. So a new life, a new society was imagined by Thomas More in Utopia. So that was the impact of humanism. Even if you read Thomas Eliot, the book named The Governor, published in 1531, okay, it is a treatise which expresses all these humanistic ideals. Okay, Sir Philip Sidney's works like Astrophel and Stella, if you read Defense of Poetry written by Sir Philip Sidney, and the two or both the versions of Arcadia, there also you find these humanistic themes presented by Sidney. If you read Marlowe, in all Marlowe's 4 tragedies you find this humanism. I have taken one example from Tamburlaine, which was published in 1590. You read these lines come in that Tamburlaine. A god is not so glorious as a king. Okay, the king himself challenges God. He says that you are not so glorious as I am. A god is not so glorious as a king. I think the pleasure they enjoy in heaven cannot compare with kingly joys on earth. So the king says that my pleasures are greater in number and greater in intensity. You cannot compare my pleasures with the pleasures of God, which he is enjoying in heaven. So here individualism is projected by Marlowe in this play. Now that was also the impact of humanism. Even when you read Shakespeare's plays, okay, in most of Shakespeare's tragedies like Hamlet, Macbeth, King Lear, Othello, you find this humanism. Okay, I have taken one example from Hamlet, which was published in 1603. Okay, you mark these lines written by Shakespeare, spoken by Hamlet. Hamlet is the protagonist of this tragedy. Hamlet says, "What a piece of work is man!" So, what a great creation this man is. How noble in reason, how good our reason is. Okay, how infinite in faculty. We have infinite faculties, means we are myriad minded people. Okay, in form and moving, how express and admirable, how like an angel. Man is just like an angel who can bring any miracles in his life. In apprehension, how like a god, the beauty of the world. Man is just like a god. As God has all powers, man too has all powers, the beauty of the world. So, this creation of man is projected by William Shakespeare in the play Hamlet. So, that was also the impact of humanism. I hope now you understand what humanism is. So, let me conclude this by saying that humanism in Renaissance or Renaissance humanism, okay, is a movement which began from Italy. It reached in England during the 16th century. It was an intellectual, it was a literary movement, the impact of which we find in the literature which was written by Shakespeare, Marlowe, Sidney, Thomas More, and so many people. Okay, here what is more important is that the main principles were to value reason. They gave more importance to their questioning mind, reason, okay, over faith, and to make the people the center of your existence. Man is at the center. God is not at the center, man is at the center. Renaissance humanism highlighted the idea that every individual must be responsible citizen and a leader of this community. It is up to you how you build your future. Humanism as a Renaissance movement started from Italy during the 14th century and reached England during the 16th and 17th centuries. So here we come to the end of this discussion. If you have any doubts on this topic, please do write to me in the comment section of this channel, and thank you for watching. Please do share this video among all your friends and classmates. Thank you.